Welcome to the Political Matrix News. Politics, people, local, regional, national news. Political Matrix News keeps you informed. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix. The Political Matrix rolls on. We're doing this on Tuesday. Early this morning, they had the big shipwreck in Baltimore. The ship, by the way, is fine, other than wreckage on board and a few containers in the water and some paint scratches. The ship is fine. They had an engineering issue from all the way it looked. You got video of the whole thing happening. It's going to screw up the U.S. economy to some degree, to some extent. 7 ships on the inside of the harbor need to get out, and 8 to 10 were in the Chesapeake Bay. They have been told to anchor where they are until their owners tell them to go somewhere else. The 6 lives lost for sure. Those were construction workers on top of the bridge. From the top of the bridge where they were, from the roadbed to the water was 180 feet, just 185 feet. So that gives you an idea. And Joe Biden, by the way, says the U.S. will pay for it all. Obviously, he's never heard of insurance claims. And I'm thinking John Morgan should get on his Learjet and fly up there real fast. So let's talk about who's paying for what. Who's paying for the border wall? The answer is we all are, because we didn't finish the border wall. And millions and millions and millions of people from all around the world have come over the border between Brownsville, Texas, and San Diego, California. And frankly, it has screwed up the U.S. economy. Let's be really honest. But now the president of Mexico has issued a list of demands. So we have a picture of the list of demands. A list of demands that the U.S. better do this, that, or the other thing, or otherwise he's not going to do anything to slow down illegal immigration into the United States. Scott and Greg are chomping at the bit to talk about this. Go.
Well, I'll tell you, to me, the interesting thing was basically that he made this big production about saying that there are things that he can do, and he can stem the tide of people that are coming. But before he will do that, he wants us to make some concessions, and here's the list. Let me see. He wants $20 billion a year sent to Latin American countries, lift the sanctions on Venezuela, end the Cuban embargo, and legalize millions of Mexicans that are living in the United States.
Right.
And just for that, he will wield his immense power and get rid of all these illegal aliens.
That's very nice of him. That is great of him.
It's just amazing to me that that he's going to say that I could do something about this. A good president would say, "Oh, you can. Well, how about this? How about we're not going to give Mexico any more of the goodies that we've been giving you,
right? Until
you stop this flow of immigrants."
This is how you go from leadership to being just a thug. I mean, this is a horrible way of running a country, a horrible way of actually showing the world what kind of president he is by doing demands like this against a country who has basically given him every single thing they have. I mean, if it weren't for America, they would have nothing in Mexico. I mean, they are so rewarded already. All the money going back to across the border, all the people who are already working over here through NAFTA, through all the jobs that we've sent down there, through all the tourism that we send down there, through all the benefits and everything else, the freedoms that we show them how to use down there. And they do use freedoms down there very, very well. And they take a lot of our ideas, a lot of our intellectual ideas, a lot of our tourism ideas, a lot of our corporate ideas, a lot of our commercial use, everything else. And they're working with other countries like China, other nations around the world, and selling us goods. They've been very well rewarded. I think he needs to go ahead. We should charge him $20 billion a year. He should give it to America, not to us giving it to. I think it's also interesting how he wants us to give it to all the other Latin American countries, not just Mexico. So he's speaking for Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Panama, Costa Rica, and everywhere in South America.
Your geography is great. Your geography is freaking great. You ready for this, guys? This is the number that blows everybody. All right. This is the number that blows everybody away. What you would call remittance. In other words, I am an illegal. I have family in Mexico. I get paid in cash every Friday. I run to my public store and I find a Western Union and I say, here's
Exactly.
$400 to send back to my senora in Guadalajara.
Mm-hmm.
Guess how much money is sent back to Mexico every year? Scott, put a guess.
Each year?
Yeah.
I'd say it had to be on the order of $100 billion.
Greg?
I'd say around 50 to 100 billion.
50 is right on the money. 55.9 billion. I'll call that 56 billion, and that's in 2022 because that's the way, there's always a gap.
There's a lot more now.
Right, it's more. It's at least 60. We'll go 60 to be safe, but probably bigger than that. Now, here's the kick. If Donald Trump had said, you know what, we're going to tax all of these remittances going back to Mexico.
That'll pay for the wall.
1%. 1% of 55 billion, if I do my math correctly,
For 1
is
year.
$550 million, which would certainly build a hell of a lot of wall with Mexico. And he never did. He never pulled the trigger on making that happen.
For Canada too.
You what?
Probably use part of that for the Canada wall too.
Canada wall.
I mean, in all reality, there is a lot of trafficking and everything else going on the north end as well. And people don't realize the wall is not a physical wall. A lot of it is a virtual wall with drones and stuff like that. And that's one thing that people have really got to get in their head. It's not all one big, long physical wall. It's
$550 million buys a lot of drones and a lot of cameras. And the one thing they did do, which previously had not been done, and we've only had a border for, I don't know, a couple hundred years since the Gadsden Purchase of 1845 following the war with Mexico. And my dates are wrong on that, dang it. We never had a all-weather road running the length of the border, and it runs 95% now. That's been one of the big construction projects. Oh, putting a fence up. Okay, there's fence up and everything else. But we have the road that they can see what's going on and they can get where they need to get to. Guys, if you haven't been out there, I have. A lot of miles and miles and miles of nothing but miles. I mean, there's nothing. No shade under that cactus right there. Okay? It's desolate. In fact, it's that way on both sides for an awful lot of the border. So that's why they find bodies out there all the time.
All I know is that a drone from 10,000 feet has a pretty good view of 30 miles away.
Yep.
And 33 drones will cover 1,000 miles. So, which means that for that entire 1,000 miles, you've got continuous coverage.
Right.
So why not buy 30 drones and start having some folks monitor it? They had to be personally monitored. You could have them computer monitored and have the computers just bring it to their attention when something interesting comes on the screen. And then when that happens, then you can deploy your resources directly to the place where the people are trying, the bands of intruders are coming from.
There's actually one area where AI would come in handy, and instead of replacing all the Walmart employees with AI, which frustrates the crap out of me when I go to Walmart. But I mean, AI would be really handy there with the drones and keeping everything safe. It'll work.
It ain't rocket science.
It absolutely is rocket science because you got to have rockets to put surveillance satellites up to watch all of this, or use the big drones. And by the way, from 30,000 feet with one of the, I was going to say the Predators, the Raptors, whatever, you can read a license plate. So from 30,000 feet, you can cover a hell of a lot of terrain, and you just have it set up for drone. Yes, and those are good for about 6 or 8 hour watches. We would almost have to double the size of the drone fleet in the U.S. And the other part about it is the solar power we have on a lot of those a lot of those towers out there that pick up the information on TV cameras and send it digitally back. That's all cell phone technology.
Right.
Thank you, Hedy Lamarr. Well, I hope we don't give in to the demands. Otherwise, we would just, we'll just shut the border. Hey, we're shutting the border. See you guys. Adios. And
for him to do this,
I got to tell you something. Living in Texas, living in Texas a lot of years, one of the fun things to do, whether you were in El Paso, Del Rio, Laredo, Brownsville, Harlingen, there are always places to go in Mexico. It's exotic, it's different, and you can buy some cool stuff, very honestly, that's not made in China. And you can't do that anymore. The drug industry has screwed that all up. One of my favorite steak places in Matamoros was, and I had a quadruple murder. People just sitting there having dinner, little drive-by, AK rounds going, ripping through everybody. 4 dead right over their shrimp cocktails. Can't have that. That's the way Mexico does business. I don't want to do business with them. We thank you for joining us for this episode of the Political Matrix blogcast. Greg Fink running things in Gainesville, Scott Miller protecting the western end of the Sunshine State from all those people coming in from Alabama and Louisiana. And I'm Rob Milford in the Mickey Mouse capital of the world. There with Tourism Central, all 75 million visitors. And this is one week where you think they're all here because they're stuck in front of you in traffic. Have a good one till next time with the Political Matrix.